So let's get into social media censorship. This has been a massive issue. We've seen this for months and months and months building. The Babylon Bee now is the biggest, I guess, most recent victim of this. Talk a little bit about Getter, what you guys do, and how it could be a solution to people like the Babylon Bee.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Billy. I think the most incredible part about Getter here is that we've proven that it's not a difficult concept simply to just respect your First Amendment right to free speech, right? So our platform is it's short form blogging, so it's very similar to Twitter. You got about 777 characters, and so you get a little bit more maneuverability on how you want to communicate your message. But most importantly, we're continuing to innovate and roll into these new spaces. We've got live streaming available for users. We've got a short form video, Instagram Reels, TikTok feature that'll be rolling out here very shortly. In addition to DMs, essentially, we want to be the one stop shop for everyone who fears being canceled or censored on the internet. Because, quite frankly, if they can do it to the sitting president of the United States of America, they can do it to literally anybody. And so we've seen incredible support. We've got about 5 million users now worldwide. Again, this cancel culture phenomenon, it not only impacts us here in the States, but I mean, people in Brazil, France, Australia, the UK, Germany, so on and so forth, they face this too. So really, this is kind of a problem we're tackling as a movement, not necessarily as a political party or as a country.
So I want to get more into Getter and what you guys are doing, but I have to ask you your reaction to the Babylon Bee restrictions on Twitter. You know, the demand that they basically delete this tweet about Rachel Levin. What was your reaction when you first saw that story?
Well, it's just absolutely incredible that they're trying to tell you that something you can verify with your own two eyes that this person has discussed at length. It's not like, any of these people are on the record saying otherwise, right? They're basically telling you that the truth, what is happening right in front of you, is not real. And that's the, basis for their entire argument, their entire existence at this moment is just grounded on this obsession with gaslighting people, and they're creating an environment by which they can very easily other or ostracize or disenfranchise, to use all of their own words, anyone who disagrees with them, and we just find that wholly unacceptable.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because critics will say, well, this only happens to conservatives, it only happens to Christians, it only happens to one side of the aisle. Others will say that's not true, or they'll try to sort of dance around that. I mean, based on your experience, here you are, you're working, you're helping spread the word about Getter, you are looking at these issues. How would you respond to those critics who would say, no, that's not true, they're not only targeting conservatives, or would sort of dismiss the conservative arguments on this?
Well, what I'll say is that the censorship has been not even exclusive to. I'll roll back. There's a very good example of, and I'm blanking on the name of the actual YouTube channel, but there are channels, Democrat channels, liberal-run channels that basically gather what they think is opposition research on, conservative candidates, right? And these channels basically pool footage of conservatives saying, we're against abortion, things like that, and even they get canceled on the internet. And what I'll say is that this isn't just again, this isn't exclusive to whether you're black, white, skinny, fat, Republican, conservative. I mean, take a look. So over on Getter, one of our more popular users is actually Enes Kanter. He was an NBA center for quite a long time. Who's he's Turkish. He's very outspoken against uh, oppressive regimes, mandates, things like that. He and I would disagree. For example, I think he's fairly liberal. We would disagree, for example, on vaccines. But where we agree and we find common ground, and where he's been canceled, is on the issue of genocide in China, the Uyghur genocide. So he's found a home on Getter. It kind of shows that this cuts all ways. It doesn't matter. Genuinely, it doesn't matter. But for whatever reason, the scales tend to tip in the opposite direction for conservatives. I can't imagine why.
So, I mean, so what you're saying is you will have people who are not going to just be conservative. They're going to be of all walks of life who believe in free speech, who are going to use Getter, or who are already using it with millions of people on. So a lot of people will say, okay, well, there have been a number of other social media outlets. A lot of people are creating them. This is a crowded market. Some people are skeptical when new ones come. What makes Getter different in your view?
Well, the few things, the promises, and the things that we're doing differently are all a result of kind of learning from these past mistakes, right? So we have a clear terms of service. We have clear community guidelines. So again, we don't want you to think that we're making up the rules as we go along. I think that's a very common trap that Facebook and Twitter fell into. If you're in violation of community guidelines, it is very obvious. It will be very obvious what you were being, flagged for, and we try to do that as little as possible. I think, and that's what makes us different as well. We do proper content moderation because you can come on and do things like talk about ivermectin, or you can talk about the 2020 election, where we think we all can agree there's no home for, on the internet for things like beheading videos or child porn, right? So we've taken very extensive measures in order to make sure that those things are making it onto the platform, and therefore we aren't going anywhere. Additionally, I think our global reach is really important. Being able to go out there and talk and pool resources and help folks, organize in places like Germany or in France, where we're actually helping sponsor their upcoming presidential debate tomorrow. We're getting involved in all these communities because we're not going anywhere. We're different in that, fulfilling our promises isn't difficult, and that we have the proper infrastructure put together. I mean, you've been playing around with it, Billy. It just works. Like, they've been telling us to go out and build it, and we've just done it. No ifs and buts about it, and we're not going anywhere.
Well, listen, we are interested to see where this all goes, and we appreciate you taking the time today.